Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Steve Shannon, your announcer for today's Remembrance Day program. On behalf of the 2022 Remembrance Day Citizens Committee, I welcome you to the service today. After 2 years of not conducting in-person services, we are pleased to be able to return to the Sasktel Center, where we can, as a community, pay the sacrifice to all of those who served our country. Wreaths have been an external and an eternal symbol of Remembrance Day. Funds raised from the purchase of wreaths goes to the Poppy Fund and is used to support veterans' causes. We are fortunate that every year over 100 organizations and individuals in Saskatoon purchase wreaths both as a symbol of Remembrance Day and of their support to our veterans. Based upon the feedback from veterans and other stakeholders, we have altered the parade format this year so that the majority of the wreaths have been laid in advance of the commencement of the parade, reducing the impact on our veterans by shortening the service duration, and therefore we will be having 15 wreaths laid by all levels of government, the armed forces, and veterans organizations during the service itself. We would like to thank all the organizations who have purchased wreaths, and their names are noted on our screen. The service today is supported by two orchestral bands, the Saskatoon Concert Band and the Salvation Army Band, who are providing musical accompaniment during the laying of the wreaths that's happening now and throughout the act of remembrance in the service. These bands are led by musical director Peter England, Saskatoon Concert Band, George Charpentier, director, Salvation Army Band, Vienna Sawatsky, director. We thank them for their contribution today. The 2022 Remembrance Day Service is commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Dennis Sansom, of the commanding officer of the North Saskatchewan Regiment, and his deputy commander, Major Mike Graver, and Regimental Sergeant Major Chief Warrant Officer Jason Balkin. Each have served both overseas and here in Canada during their military careers. They also have deep family connections with the Canadian Armed Forces, with uncles, grandfathers, and great-grandfathers who have served previous conflicts going back to the First and Second World Wars. They are examples of generational service, carrying on the tradition of service inspired by and passed to them by members of their families. A central theme of today's service is generational service and recognition of sacrifice. The symbol of this sacrifice is the Sergeant Charles Henry Phillips Cross, located just left of our main podium here today. Sergeant Phillips, an early resident of Saskatoon, was killed early in the First World War in May of 1915. The cross present today was replaced by his permanent grave marker. The cross was repatriated to his parents, who in turn donated it to the family parish in St. Michael's, Devonshire, England. St. Michael's was entirely destroyed by aerial bombing in 1941, and the Phillips Cross was one of the few artifacts to survive. With the closure of the newly built St. Michael's, the Phillips Cross was given by the parish to the North Saskatchewan Regiment, Sergeant Phillips' successor regiment. His history and that of the cross is located on the back of your program. At the commencement of the parade, our Cenotaph Guard will be marched on by Sergeant Mike Wong. We will also note that a very special tribute will be paid today to two incredible survivors of World War II that are with us today. The parade will pay compliments to two Second World War veterans, Mr. Reg Harrison and Mr. Bob Atkinson. Their biographies are noted on the back of the program. The Cenotaph Guard will be marched out in the next few minutes. We wanted to know that the Cenotaph Guard, and we wanted you to know who they were today. Sergeant Michael Wong joined the Canadian Armed Forces in 2003. He is an infantry soldier with the North Saskatchewan Regiment. Sergeant Wong has been in operations domestically and abroad to include deployments in Canada's high Arctic to the deserts of Afghanistan. Sergeant Mike Wong will be marching on the Cenotaph Guard in the next few moments. Sergeant Wong has been a member of the Cenotaph Guard 5 times, and this will be his 3rd time as Cenotaph Guard Commander at SaskTel Center. Master Corporal Brandon Parr. Master Corporal Brandon Parr joined the Canadian Armed Forces and is an infantry soldier in November of 2011 with the North Saskatchewan Regiment. From 2016 to 2022, he worked as a human resources assistant for the North Saskatchewan Regiment, as well as an instructor for basic military qualifications and his various infantry courses. He completed his primary leadership qualification and infantry section commander course in 2021. His time with the Canadian Armed Forces has taken him all over Canada, and he is now a federal corrections officer with the Correction Services of Canada and is still serving with the North Saskatchewan Regiment. This will be Master Corporal Parr's 1st time participating in the Cenotaph Guard at SaskTel Center. Constable Kelly Trott. Constable Kelly Trott joined the RCMP in 2015 and currently is posted to the Martensville Detachment, which is his 4th posting. Constable Trott previously had been posted to the Little Pine First Nation, Saskatoon Rural Detachment, and Federal Serious and Organized Crime Unit with Saskatoon. Constable Trott is also a member of the CAF as an infantry officer with the North Saskatchewan Regiment. This will be Constable Trott's 3rd Remembrance Day service and 2nd time as Cenotaph Guard at SaskTel Center. 2nd Class, Sailor 2nd Class, Ana Paula Campos. 2nd Class Ana Paula Campos served with the Canadian Armed Forces in 2008 as naval communicator with Her Majesty's Canadian ship Unicorn. Sailor 2nd Class Campos has participated in courses and exercises on both east and west coasts of our country, as well as recruiting and community engagement events in the Saskatoon area. As a reservist, 2nd Class Sailor Campos has a full-time civilian career as a dentist in Saskatoon. This will be Sailor 2nd Class Campos' 1st time participating as Cenotaph Guard at SaskTel Center. Corporal Christopher Buchert. Corporal Christopher Buchert joined the Royal Canadian Air Force as an aerospace telecommunications and information systems technician on October 21st of 2015. He is currently posted to 17 Wing Winnipeg Detachment in Dundurn. In 2021, Corporal Buchert deployed to the northmost inhabited place on the world at Operation Box Top at Canadian Forces Station in Alert in Nunavut, and the Information Systems Administrator for Operations Boktop. Corporal Buchert has been at the Cenotaph Guard duty 3 times now. This will be his 2nd time participating as Cenotaph Guard at SaskTel Center. We welcome and appreciate our Cenotaph Guard who will be marching out shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, the parade will pay compliments to two Second World War veterans later in the service, Mr. Reg Harrison and Mr. Bob Atkinson. As previously noted, their bio. Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, in May of 1915, wrote the now world-famous poem, In Flanders Fields, which has become the recognized standard recited on November 11th, symbolizing the realities of war, but also the responsibility of one generation of service members passing the torch to the next generation. In his poem, McCrae wrote two key lines which symbolize that generational responsibility to both defend the tenets of our democracy and support those who seek protection from oppressors by those members of our Canadian Armed Forces. John McCrae wrote, "To you from failing hands we throw, the torch be yours to hold it high." There have been thousands of citizens from Saskatchewan who have served in the military since 1905, and there are hundreds still serving now. Today, we are proud to tell the stories of two senior World War II veterans. Reg Harrison, who turned 100 this year, and was a member of the RCAF Bomber Command, and Bob Atkinson, 98, who served with the Canadian Grenadier Guards. Later in the ceremony, both of these gentlemen will receive the compliments from the parade as it marches past.
Well, my name is Reg Harrison, sometimes known as Crash Harrison, for I somehow survived 4 plane crashes. I was born and raised on a farm about 30 miles west of Melville. I got my wings in the end of April in 1943, and then got 10 days embarkation leave, and then went overseas. Left Halifax. We went on the Louis Pasteur, and that took us about 4.5 days. The convoys took about a month. When we got word they're posting, what do you know, we got posted to Croft. And as it turned out, for me, it was a Jinx station. We got there on March the 12th, 1944. On March the 15th, there were 5 crews arrived that day. They said, okay, all the pilots are going on their second dicky trip. So I went with a flying officer, Philbin. And unbeknownst to the crew, they brought back a 500-pound bomb. And they didn't know it was there. I suppose over the target it was rather dark in the bomb bay. And the bomber hadn't seen the bomb. And although the bombing switch had been turned off, the bomb should not have been alive, but apparently it was. And just as when we were coming into land, I was standing beside the pilot and he told me to go back to the crash position. Well, I didn't really go. I stepped back so he couldn't see me. And after he'd landed, slowing down, we were just going to turn off the runway and the bomb fell through the bomb doors. We didn't hear it. It exploded and it blew the aircraft apart. There wasn't anything left of the aircraft from the wings to all the fuselage was gone. The undercarriage was gone, all the tail section was gone. And the 2 gunners were in their turrets. They were both killed instantly. In a Halifax, you're actually 26 feet off the ground. So I don't know what my trajectory was, because we never heard the bomb. And I guess when I don't know, it was a concussion from the bomb, but I don't remember hearing anything. But and I don't know whether I went straight up in the air. I don't know what my trajectory was, but when I opened my eyes, I looked up and I thought I could see stars, which I really could because it was still dark. And my first thought was, God, I must be in heaven. And then I felt my uniform getting wet, and I thought, oh my God, I must be bleeding to death. But it wasn't that, but all the gas lines had been punctured from the bomb explosion, and the 100-octane gas was pouring out of the lines. And as soon as it hit the exhaust, burst into flames, and then the gasoline on the ground all caught fire. We went to the hospital and they said, oh, you've got a scrape on your arm, so you better go on leave. I was only there on 3 days, and my uncle, who survived the First World War, he wanted to look at my arm. By Jove, he said, you've got a phosphorus burn there, you better get to a burn hospital. And I was there for 10 weeks getting skin grafts done. The third trip, well, it's a long story too, but we had to bail out. My wireless operator missed a diversion message, and we ended up bailing out in Cumbria. And I thought how close I came to being there because I got tangled up in the levers in the aircraft when I went to bail out. That was my third crash. It was the second crash for the crew. Being a veteran and being involved in a war, Remembrance Day means a lot to me. The fact that we do live in a free country, that we're not ruled by dictators. Our evening news now, when we see what's happened to the Ukraine and what Putin has done to that country, and when we look at North Korea, China, Russia, the Middle East, Iraq, Iran, Syria, we know what happens when you live under a dictatorship. And I think people in Canada, a lot of people don't realize the tremendous sacrifice that was paid so that we could live in a free country. There's no glory in war. War is hell, but I think the more that people realize what happens in war, I think that it's important that we have Remembrance Day, even though it happens only once a year. It reminds people, or it should remind people, what a heavy price was paid by all those who volunteered to go to war so that those that were left behind could continue to live in a free country. The Runnymede Memorial north of London has 18,000 names of veterans with no known graves in it. I often think that those families must wonder how their loved ones died, what their final thoughts were, and where they're buried. So, to me, Remembrance Day, it conjures up a host of thoughts.
My name is Robert, commonly known as Bob Atkinson, and I served in the Canadian Army in a crew, five-man crew at a Sherman tank in the 4th Armored Division, 22nd Armored Regiment, in France, Belgium, Holland, and into Germany. I joined originally when I was still in high school, a militia unit in the town where I lived at the time. I was 16 and 17, 44, 45, a very, very cold winter. And we did a lot of shelling across the Maas River. The Germans were on the other side, we were on this side. And that went on until they had run short of supplies because the port of Antwerp, which is a big major port, it hadn't been opened yet, but once it was opened, the supplies came in fast and furious, and they regiments all were restocked with guns, ammunition, food, whatever, and we resumed the push into northern and eastern Holland in February of 1945. So anyway, we did battle with some pretty strong elements of the German army. We were in this fierce battle one morning. It was the 2nd of March, 1945. And we were shelling them, they were shelling us, and we had taken some prisoners. And then the enemy got around behind our tank and hit it with penetrating shell in our engines. Well, it just immediately, we were carrying high octane gas and a big load of high explosive ammunition, which I was sitting on this pile of ammunition. So, of course, the tank went up in flames immediately. The crew commander got out, the gunner got out, and I'm behind the gunner pushing him out. We all got out, but then all broke loose. They were shelling us, and we had, all we could do was try and take cover somewhere. We climbed out of the ditch, and then I got hit with rifle fire in my first one that was in my arm, and then I moved a little further, and I was trying to hold the arm, and I got hit in the leg. And then I had to, I was losing a lot of blood, I guess. So I was looking for a place to sit down. And anyway, some of the prisoners we'd taken were German medics. And 2 of them came along. They had bandaged up the German prisoners that we had, and then they bandaged us. No, there was no discrimination. They just, which saved my life. So I could say that I am sort of indebted to certain German troops. Well, I spent about 13 months in hospital. I finally got evacuated out of there. Well, to me, it goes back to World War I, where my father served in the Canadian Army over in France and Belgium. My mother was a nurse, a nursing sister, in a British hospital behind the front lines in Belgium. Canadians in general should recognize that they are here because of the sacrifices made by all the veterans of both wars, Korea, whenever war our country decided to support, take part in. And I think it's all important to keep it up and not forget.
Our Second World War veterans have figuratively passed the torch of service to the new generation of Canadian Armed Forces service members. We are fortunate to receive greetings from current serving members who were former citizens from Saskatoon who participated in past Remembrance Day parades, but who are currently serving overseas or serving here in Canada.
Hello, I'm Colonel Brian Malkowski, formerly of Saskatoon. Currently, I am posted overseas with the Canadian Armed Forces as part of the NATO Land Command headquarters in Izmir, Turkey. As a young air cadet in the 107 Spitfire Squadron back in the early 1980s, and later as a member of the North Saskatchewan Regiment, I have fond memories of being on the Saskatoon Remembrance Day Parade. As a current serving military member and as a veteran, I want to thank the citizens of Saskatoon for their continued support by attending today's service. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Captain Jennifer Burke, an engineering officer previously from Canada Lake and Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I'm currently posted to the Canadian Maneuver Training Centre in Wainwright, Alberta. Having served outside Canada on Operation Unifier, I have come to realize the importance and value of everything we have as Canadians. For me, this is reinforced on November 11th when we pause as a country to remember the service and sacrifice of our veterans past and present. I would like to thank the citizens of Saskatoon for the overwhelming support to our veterans and service members by attending today's Remembrance Day ceremony.
Tanse, hello. I am Captain Trent Gervais of the North Saskatchewan Regiment from Flying Dust First Nation in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, currently deployed on Operation Impact, NATO Mission Iraq, located in Bagtown. November 11th is a sacred day for all serving members and our veterans. For me, being deployed on November 11th takes on even greater meaning. I want to thank all citizens of Saskatoon and Northern Saskatchewan for attending today's services and paying respects to our veterans past and present. Thank you. Kinenasku. And 1, hold firm, remainder, retire, 8 pound! Turn! 1, hold firm, remainder, take! Post! 1, hold firm, remainder, advance, 8 pound! Turn! 2, shift left. Left. Still. Markers, steady!
Parade Chief Warrant Officer Jason Balkin is now called for the markers.
"2022 Remembrance Day, Tri-Service Band leading, March On Cadets and Service Group."
Led by the Tri-Service Cadet Band, ladies and gentlemen, Jarvis Bay Sea Cadets. Followed by 328 Medical Corps Army Cadets. (2293) North Saskatchewan Army Cadets. Followed by the 107 Air Cadets. 702 Air Cadets and the Navy League. Also in our march on of the parade, the Elks, Masons, Shriners,
Cadets, halt! 2022 Remembrance Day Parade, Tri-Service Band leading, March On, the New Guard, and Protective Services.
Parade Chief Warrant Officer Jason Balkan has now called for the march on of the New Guard and Protective Services. Beginning with HMCS Unicorn. North Saskatchewan Regiment. '16 Medical Company. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Saskatoon Police Service. Saskatoon Fire Department. Corrections Services of Canada and Provincial Corrections.
Parade moon dance, left, turn. Shoulder dressing, right, dress. Still, right, eyes, front. Straight, standard, ice. Parade, attention.
CWO Balkan will now turn the parade over to the Parade Deputy Commander, Major Mike Graber.
Parade, stand at ease. Parade, attention. Officers, fall in.
Now that the officers have fallen in, Major Graver will now turn the parade over to Lieutenant Colonel Sansom.
Parade, stand at ease. Parade, attention. March on the old guard.
Led by the North Saskatchewan Regiment Pipes and Drums. Ladies and gentlemen, the Old Guard, consisting of Canadian Forces veterans, Allied Nations veterans, and RCMP veterans.
Old guard, advance, left, turn. Old guard, right, dress.
Carry it on down.
Look to your right.
RCP, carry it on down. Cover off. Right. Yes. Up in there, just cover off. Still, front page, stay.
Eyes front. Color party. March on the colors. Parade to the colors. Salute. Parade shoulder off.
Lieutenant Colonel Sansom will now turn the parade over to this year's officiating clergy, Captain Ivan Nahachowski, MSM of the Padre of the North Saskatchewan Regiment. Padre Nahachowski received the Meritorious Service Medal for the work while deployed overseas in the Ukraine in the development of their National Army Chaplaincy Corps.
After 2 years of commemorating Remembrance Day virtually, I, for one, am really glad to be here. Let us open the service with our national anthem, played for us by the combined bands of the Saskatoon Concert Band and the Salvation Army Band. All who are able to stand, please keep doing so. Please be seated. Bienvenue, Tanse, Vitayamo, welcome. We stand here on Treaty 6 territory and the land of the Métis. My name is Padre Ivan Nahachowski, and today, on behalf of all those who helped to put this program together, we thank you for joining us in commemorating Remembrance Day 2022. We remember and honor those who served and those who sacrificed for the freedom of Canada. We acknowledge that Canadian society is very diverse and that the Canadian Armed Forces is a reflection of that diversity, and so is the city of Saskatoon. We gather from within many religions, faiths, and spiritualities. So your leadership for today's service, my fellow chaplains and multi-faith leaders in the front row, are equally diverse so that you may reflect, pray, meditate, or be silent according to your own individual beliefs and conscience. Does anyone remember when we stopped having World War I veterans attend these services? And now we're all noticing that the World War II veterans and the Korean veterans are fewer and older. So perhaps we need to better understand who is a veteran. The legacy of our veterans from those 3 previous conflicts is now carried on by all former members called the Old Guard, and by the current serving members we call the New Guard. We are mindful of the living, the healthy, and the thriving. Let us not forget about those who struggle with mental health issues, those who cope with PTSD or physical injuries, those who are lonely, those who are addicted. Let us all be aware of the full spectrum of the veterans who live among us, so that we can support them in their journey to recovery. It is my sad honor to announce that retired chaplain Reverend Canon Dr. Colin Clay is no longer with us. He died on July 6, 2022. He was a British soldier and served in Korea. He was a military chaplain and he served as padre for veteran groups. He participated in Saskatoon Remembrance Day and Decoration Day services for many decades. He was passionate about world peace, and he was very active in ecumenical and multi-faith committees. He will be missed. Another sad announcement is that our thoughts and prayers go out to the family and friends of Captain Eric Chung, who died earlier this week while deployed in Operation Impact in Iraq. I now invite you to sing along with the hymn of remembrance, God of our Fathers, led by the Salvation Army Band. The theme, the next generation of veterans, does not exclude veterans from World War I, World War II, or the Korean War, but rather it highlights the post-Korean veterans. They are all the men and women who have served and sacrificed since those wars. The theme also encourages us to acknowledge current Canadian Armed Force members. Some of them you see here standing on parade, doing their part to remember and doing their part to remind. Those are the ones who deploy around the world and who serve here in Canada. But in this SaskTel Centre, there are veterans who are not on the parade square. They are not formed up. They are silently present outside of the spotlight. So all you veterans out there, we acknowledge you. You are important to us. We need you still. Help us to reach out to you, and we have not forgotten you. The torch is being passed, and you have a hand on it, either as one who receives or one who is passing it on. I ask you, if you so wish, to stand up and be recognized now. If you are a spouse of a veteran, or a child of a veteran, or a parent of a veteran, I ask you to now stand as well. You too are serving our country. You too are making sacrifices. You too are the reason for our gratitude. Ladies and gentlemen, continue your generous applause. I now call on Rabbi Claudio Drodakowski to lead us in a reading from Hebrew Scripture, and then to be followed by Tanis Sherstabirov singing "Let There Be Peace on Earth."
וכיתתו חרבותיהם לעתים, בחנינותיהם למזמרות. לא יישאו גוי אל גוי חרב ולא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established as the highest of the mountains. It will be exalted above the hills, and peoples will stream to it. Many nations will come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the temple of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, so that we may walk in his paths. The law will go out from Zion, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will judge between many peoples and will settle disputes from strong nations far and wide. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. Everyone will sit under their own vine and under their own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid, for the Lord Almighty has spoken."
Parade. Attention!
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth.
Please stand for the act of remembrance. They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them. Please be seated.
Ease. Stand easy.
I would like to introduce now Mrs. Baljinder Dhaliwal from the Sikh Society of Saskatchewan, who will lead us in the prayer for country.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. First of all, I am grateful to all of those who sacrificed their lives for our freedom and this great country. As a Sikh, I believe in one universal creator or cosmic life force who is absolute truth, doer of all, without fear and without hate and without enmity. I cite from the Sikh holy scripture, Guru Granth Sahib, the whole universe welled up from the same divine light. How one is good or bad. There is only one in all of us and outside of us. Within the hearts and beyond the hearts, perfect one is seen to be permeating everyone. I pray to that one universal creator for His Majesty King Charles III and each and everyone in Canada to bestow the strength and wisdom upon all of us so that we can develop compassion and empathy and tolerance towards each other, can recognize the oneness in each other to create a world of peace and harmony. And I end my prayer with Nanak Naam Chaddi Kala Tere Pane Sarbat Da Pala. In Chaddi Kala, there is confidence in the ultimate victory of truth over falsehood and of good over evil. It indicates elation or high spirits and meaning positive attitude. Sarvat da Pala, betterment of humanity under thy will. Thank you for the opportunity for joining the service today.
I now will invite Elder and former Grand Chief Stephen Ross, Saskatchewan First Nations Veterans Association, to offer a prayer for world peace.
Greetings to all veterans, dignitaries, elders, and citizens of this province, Saskatoon. And greetings to all the people that participated in the grand entry. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And thank you, veterans, for coming to this ceremony. I've never seen so many veterans since I was in the parade myself many, many years ago. It was a beautiful stint with the armed forces. It's going to be brief. Many different nations suffered for peace and freedom. As comrades, we fought side by side
Today, in memory of those comrades that we lost, we grieve side by side. We can enjoy our liberty of peace side by side. We can work together. As we stand here on Memorial Day, let us be grateful. Let us be humbled by the sacrifices made for peace and freedom. As we return home tonight, this evening, to our humble abodes, let us be thankful that we have our loved ones. Let us give a minute to give appreciation for peace and freedom we often take for granted. I invite you, please give thought over the weekend as we live and enjoy our liberties, the ability to live in peace and freedom. Thank you to our heroes of Canada. Thank you, veterans. Now I'm going to give thanks to the Creator, give thanks, continue work, praying for world peace. In my own language, the Cree language. Namamautai na nunaskam ni midwanska agiksi. Imidoyak to achemsna ni imidoyachik, that nimida ni imidoyachik, mutai ni xiwatsin. Uchi na notsin stutamak. Dobatamaga no managa pitsnamoyak, dupmatsun. Igawe tagak soast, igawe tanutnigit. The quipun noten Dutton to nan wicken goasik. Sami cheated no one yananik. Kagi texkisiak. Igaw gats the one exkisiak. And iganta can get to go. Into a note negitsik. And I begas walk. Samagan siganek. And Naskumag minegonik. And get tattoo to Ayatik. No town Nanaskum, Tapun man stay with us, it's now Moinan. Nanaskum of Townan, Nanaskum, how, hey.
Dr. Fakhrizel Halim, the Muslim community of Saskatoon, is excused. I now invite Reverend Mark Kleiner from Christchurch Anglican to offer a prayer for hope.
Dear Lord, as we give thanks this day and recognize the sacrifices of so many men and women, we also bow our heads and our hearts with a measure of shame. Shame knowing the armistice signed this day over a century ago promised a peace we have not fulfilled. At this service, we gather from across this region, including members and leaders of different faith communities, knowing these faiths have been used to justify hatred and bloodshed, and therefore our shame. And so this day we face a choice whether to hope for a better day and a better world. For those who dare hope, each of us must then choose where to place our hope. Do we hope solely in ourselves for our better behavior, better attitude, better luck next time? Or do we also look beyond ourselves, hoping in you, Lord, praying you forgive us, renew us, and transform us evermore into your likeness? However we decide, may you bless us and bless our longings this day. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the laying of the official wreaths. Today's official wreaths are laid by Silver Cross Mother, Ms. Judy Budd, mother of Corporal Shane Keating, who was killed in Afghanistan in September of 2006. Our thoughts are with all Silver Cross families on this day of remembrance. A wreath will also be laid representing the Government of Canada by MP Cory Tucker. Representing the Provincial Government of Saskatchewan, MLA Don Morgan. Representing the City of Saskatoon, His Worship, Mayor Charlie Clark. Canadian Armed Forces Veterans, Major Retired Bruce Hanbidge. Indigenous and Métis veterans, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Dave Arnott. Royal Canadian Mounted Police veterans, Bob Harvey. Ship's Company of HMCS Unicorn, Commander Mike Sue. North Saskatchewan Regiment, Master Warrant Officer Rob Brown. Veterans Affairs Canada, Tammy Schoenbart. Royal Canadian Legion Provincial Command, President Carol Peterson. Royal Canadian Legion, Spadina Branch, number 63, President Rod Holowati. Royal Canadian Legion, Nutana Branch, number 362, President Bill Flair. Royal Canadian Legion, TVS Branch, number 78, President Marguerite Wolfe. Army, Navy, and Air Force Veterans Association Unit Number 38, President Al Boyce.
I would now like to call to the podium Chief Warrant Officer Albert Boucher for a tribute to the wounded.
For the fallen, there are places for us to remember, honor, and mourn them. Memorials, cenotaphs, and monuments. Carved into the stone and steel of these memorials are their names, deeds, and the places they fought. For the wounded, their battles are carved into their bodies, minds, and spirits. Each morning, they rise to face the challenges of the day with what war has left them. They are the embodiment of sacrifice, and as such, it is right to honor them. There are those that bear the scars of war, ones we see and the ones we do not. We commemorate them, and we have a duty to honor their sacrifice.
I call to the podium Colonel Retired Malcolm Young to recite for us In Flanders Field.
The Sergeant Phillips Cross is a physical reminder of the sacrifice of war and conflict in the service of our country. It goes back to World War I, as you saw from the program, but really it is emblematic of the generations of service passed from one generation of veterans to the next. The tribute to the wounded, read by Chief Warrant Officer Boucher, is the reality of today. We have an ongoing obligation to remember the sacrifice of our dead. We have an honorable and ongoing responsibility to support our wounded. In 2017, the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Vimy Ridge, a Métis traditional song was played, soulful. It commemorated the thoughts and the spirits of those in the trenches, but it applies today. By Sierra Noble, The Warrior's Lament. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow. Loved and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw, the torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with we who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. This is in tribute to Sergeant Phillips, the members of the South Saskatchewan Regiment 80 years ago who landed on the beaches of Dieppe, and to Captain Aaron Chung, who recently passed away in service on Operation in Iraq.
I now call on the Salvation Army Band to play the hymn, O God, Our Help in Ages Past. I now call on Padre Alex Parsons, Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 362, to do the final remarks and benediction.
Now, having gathered, listened, prayed, remembered, given thanks for, and paid our respects to all those who serve, both in the past and here in the present, and their families, we ask God for your blessing and for your continual presence in our lives. Remind us that no matter where we go, you are there, and we are, each of us, known to you. No matter how bleak or how dark the world becomes, all it takes is one ray of light for a new day to be upon us once again. Be that light to each other. And in so doing, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give us all peace. Amen.
Thank you to all who attended today's service, either by being present here or by watching on Shaw Cable or the live stream. Please now, if you can, stand for the singing of God Save the King.
Attention!
Padre Nanachuski will now turn the parade back over to Lieutenant Colonel Sansom. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the podium to receive the compliments today are the two Second World War veterans that were featured earlier, Mr. Reg Harrison and Mr. Bob Atkinson.
officers, General Salute, present arms. Shoulder arms. Remainder, stand fast. Old Guard will march past in column of route. Color Party leading. Old Guard, move to the right in column of route. Right, turn.
Ladies and gentlemen, 198 years of service will be saluted as the march past of the Old Guard.
Old Guard, by the right. Quick march. Salute.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Old Guard.
Right. In succession of units, eyes front. Break. Attention!
Remembrance Day Parade will march past in column of route. Tri-service band leading. Move to the right in column of route. Right, turn. Parade will march past in succession of units by the right. Quick march.
HMC's Unicorn, by the right. Quick march.
Led by the Jarvis Bay Band, ladies and gentlemen, the New Guard.
And succession of units. Eyes right. Eyes right. And succession of units. Eyes right.
Current serving members of the Canadian Armed Forces, Protective Services, and our cadets. Ladies and gentlemen, let's show our appreciation to our 2 Second World War veterans who received the compliments. Mr. Reg Harrison and Mr. Bob Atkinson. Reg is 100 years young, and Bob is 98 years young. Thank you for your service. Ladies and gentlemen, we are once again Canada's largest indoor celebration service of Remembrance Day, as there are in the audience today 6,000 people. Thank you for your attendance. A rebroadcast of today's service will be on Shaw Spotlight at 5 p.m. tonight. On behalf of our veterans, current serving military, and the 2002 Remembrance Day Committee, we would like to thank all those citizens in attendance and those viewing on Shaw today. See you in 2023 for the 92nd Saskatoon Remembrance Day Service. I'm Steve Shannon. Have a great day.
Cenotaph Guard, present arms. Shoulder arms. Cenotaph Guard will reform in single file. Quick march.